In this video, it's time to go over the new Imperial Knights Codex. Hey everyone, welcome to another review. As always, my name is Jay, and in this video I'm going to go over the new Imperial Knights Codex that dropped today. It's going to be a lot of fun. As most of you know, I do have a lot of Imperial Knights. I have one, I currently have painted one normal one from Games Workshop, 3 from Forge World. The one from you see, there he is. My Imperial Knight Warden. There's a painting tutorial right now up on my channel on how I painted him. Go check that out. I think you'll enjoy it. And so I have a few. Also, I do have the Forge Bane box set, so I have a couple, Warglaves, and I went out and bought a couple more as well. So I'm going to have tons of Imperial Knights. It's going to be good. So, obviously, Imperial Knights are an interesting codex. Let's just start by saying that they're all Lords of War. They're all still Lords of War in this codex. So, it's a fun army. It's not the most competitive in 8th edition because most armies can blow them out of the water if they have the chance. And also, in most objective-based games, if you only have 3, maybe 4 models on the table, it gets really hard to cover objectives, easy to be tied up, and hard to score them, as you know. And the thing is, in this edition, now that D can cause, 6 or D6 wounds on shots, depending on what's shooting at them, and they only have 5 up invulnerable saves, it's pretty easy to jump through 25 wounds, and that's the approximate amount that this army has. And then on top of that, like many tournaments like ITC and ETC don't even allow Imperial Knight armies. I'm pretty sure that they don't allow them. You can take one Lord of War, I'm thinking, in certain tournaments. So it's a fun army, but it's not the one that is most frequently played. I've done a few battle reports with them, and I'll definitely do some more battle reports with them in the future, and definitely have some fun. But yeah, today I'm going to go over my thoughts. I'm going to do this whole thing in one video because there's not that much information to go through. The other thing that's kind of it's a little it takes a little time is to figure out the points costs, because of course they're at the very last page and it's just for the model, and then you have to add up all the war gear that comes onto them. And all the war gear that comes onto them is pretty much set, other than a couple options. You can replace like a heavy stubber with a melt-a-gun. And yeah, so you have to add them all up. Now, overall, the points costs did go down in this codex. They were too expensive. Now, I'm really hoping that the Forge World ones also get a little bit of points decrease as well, because then now they're really expensive compared to these ones. They do perform a similar function to them, but I think the other ones are more competitive. So these ones right here are more competitive than the Forge World ones. So yeah, we'll definitely go over this. So of course, what's new in the Codex? There are some new models. There's the 2 Armiger models. The Helverin, which is the new one as of today released, and the Warglaves, which came in the Forge Bane set. Now, of course, GW has already announced that they're going to be out in individual boxes next week outside of the Forge Bane box set. We have the Preceptor, and also a character knight named Rex, which is cool, as well as the big bad boys on the block, the Knight Castellan and the Knight Valiant, which are in a slightly even bigger chassis. They're even more points, and they do pack a walloping punch, but they are really expensive. I definitely see these guys being brought in 2,000 point tournaments. I'm gonna try. I don't have a Valiant model yet. I'm gonna buy either one of the 2 variants, or Castellan or Valiant, in the near future. It's going to be very hard to get them in a 1,500 point game because they're like 600 points each. That's a lot to go into a single model. They do have a lot of wounds, but as I said, if your opponent has an answer to them, they'll go down pretty quickly. And I'll definitely go over all the information today. Of course, there are Warlord traits as well that we'll go over a little bit later, and some relics. Now, the only thing is, in relics, and tons of relics actually, so many relics. I don't know if I'm going to go through all of them, but there's a lot of relics and a lot of ways to use command points. And once again, though, the biggest challenge with this codex is, since they're all Lords of War, you have to take a Lord of War detachment, which only gives you, I believe, +3 command points. So in the end, you're going to be working with 6 if your army's battle forged. So that most of these ways to use command points will go kind of unused. Some of them are pretty cool. And yeah, let's go over them one by one. So starting off, of course, is the Armiger Helverin. An Armiger Helverin. Now, Armigers dropped significantly from Forgebane, which makes them much more competitive, and I think they're going to be an auto-include in a lot of lists to supplement some armies, because they can work with any Imperial army. They can work with, of course, you can connect them with, you know, Cult Mechanicus or Adeptus Mechanicus armies, and it's pretty cool stuff. And of course, in this new army, of course, you can choose whether or not they're going to be a Questure Allegiance. You can choose a household. You can choose if they're going to be like free blades, and if there's free blades, there's actually pros and cons. It's kind of cool. But so Armiger Helverins, they are about 174 points each. I'm gonna say about because I did the math pretty quickly, but I added it all up. So 174 points per model. That's actually pretty awesome. That's significantly cheaper than the Warglaives were for the Forgebane box. They are armed with 2 Armiger autocannons, which are 60 inches, heavy 2d3, strength 7, AP -1, D3. They ignore the penalty to hit rolls for moving and firing heavy weapons. Now, the Armiger has strength 6, toughness 7, 12 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 8, 3-up save. However, it's dependent on the number of wounds. When it's at full strength, movement 14 inches, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3-up. At 4 to 6 wounds, movement 10 inches, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4-up. And 1 to 3 wounds, movement 7 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill 5-up. Now they also have a heavy stubber, and you can switch it from meld to gun if you want. Now that's the thing about this codex that kind of annoys me a little bit is you have to pay for the heavy stubbers. They force you to take heavy stubbers with every Imperial Knight, and it's like, okay, it's only 4 points, I agree, but it's 4 points that I wouldn't normally take. Now, of course, it is, you know, 3 shots, strength 4, AP nothing, D1, and you can maybe kill an Orc Boy with it, or a Space Marine if you get lucky. But I do find that them forcing you to take Meltaguns and heavy stubbers in some of these combinations of knights adds points that you wouldn't want to take with them. These guys are very expensive. It's going to be tough to get like an Imperial Knight army together for certain points levels, and these little penalties really do add up throughout your list. Of course, they have an Ion Shield, which is a 5-up invulnerable save. Now, that I'm going to say all of the knights have a 5-up invulnerable save and Ion Shield from ranged weapons, not from close combat weapons. They can all explode, and the Armiger Helverin is a vehicle squadron, so you set them up together, and then from then on, they operate independently at the beginning of the game. Then there's the Armiger Warglaive. The Warglaive, once again, got decreased in points levels. It's about 164 points now a model, which is amazing. This is awesome. I can't wait to... I think these guys are going to be the most popular little guy because they're awesome. Once again, they're strength 6, toughness 7, 12 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 8, 3-up save. And the same rules as before with the number of wounds remaining for the movement, weapon skill, and ballistic skill as the Helverin. They are armed with a Reaper Chain Cleaver, a Thermal Spear, and a Heavy Stubber. So, the Heavy Stubber, of course, Heavy 3, Strength 4, AP nothing, D1. Thermal Spear is the cool thing, 30-inch range, Assault D3, Strength 8, AP -4, D6, and if they're within half range, you roll 2 dice for the D and take the highest. And they have also a Reaper Chain Cleaver, which is two ways, strike and sweep. Strike is strength ×2, AP -3, D3, and sweep is strength user, AP -2, D1, but 2 attacks, 2 hit rolls for each attack. So once again, if you're facing hordes, you can get 8 attacks in and take out those Orc Boys. And this is actually a really awesome improvement of these guys. Now they can face hordes. They can't be tar pitted as easily. And once again, you can replace their heavy sword with a Meltagun. That's again 17 points. That would be good for a short range one-shot POW, but it does add up throughout this codex. And same thing, Ion Shield, they're a vehicle squadron, and they can explode. Up next, we have one of the new Imperial Knights, the Knight Preceptor. Now, there isn't a model out yet for this one, but there will be one soon. I'm guessing it'll be a dual box, the Preceptor and Rex. I'm pretty sure that'll be the next. It makes sense for them to be together. Now, this guy is on he's kind of a new chassis, so he is 419 points. He's with everything that he has to auto-include, and obviously you have choices to upgrade the war gear. He is base strength 8, toughness 8, 24 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9, 3-up save. Between 13 and 24 wounds, he's movement 12 inches, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3-up. Between 7 and 12 wounds, he's movement 9 inches, weapon skill, ballistic skill 4-up, and 1 to 6 wounds, movement 6 inches, weapon skill, ballistic skill 5-up. He is armed with a Reaper Chainsword, which, as always, and I'm going to just say this once and then go through them, of course. Reaper Chainsword is strength plus 6, so strength 14 in this case. AP minus 3, D6. These guys will destroy things in close combat. Now, the key is you got to get them in close combat. If they want to, that'd be cool. And he's also armed with Las Impulsor, which has 2 modes, low intensity and high intensity. Low intensity is 36 inch, heavy 2d6, strength 6, AP minus 2, DD3. Or high intensity, which is an 18 inch range, heavy d6, strength 12, AP minus 4, DD6. Also heavy stubber and titanic feet. So titanic feet is kind of like the old stomp, but not as strong. But what is really cool is it's a close combat attack that you choose if you're like tied up against orc boys or hordes or something you just want to really squish a lot of. Basically, it's strength user, so in this case strength 8, AP minus 2, so it'll still kill Space Marines to a pretty good extent. Space Marines are rolling 5-ups for their lives, and D3. So once again, we'll kill like if you're facing an army like Intercessor Marines, it'll really hurt them. And make 3 hit rolls for each attack with his weapon, so 12 attacks. If he's at full strength, he's hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s for most things that are squishy, and they're going to die. So that's really cool. It helps prevent them from being tar pitted by lots of large little models. Now, obviously, these guys are titanic, and they can walk across. Infantry or swarm models, but they can't finish their movement on top of them. And so if you're completely wrapped around with a horde of models like Termagants, Orc Boys, even Space Marines to some extent, or Necrons, these guys will have a problem being tar pitted for movement, so this is a way of just killing them. You can take, of course, a Carapace weapon from the Carapace weapons list. He has an Ion Shield, explodes, he's a Mentor, and a Mentor is pretty cool. Reroll hit rolls of 1 for friendly, household, armored, or class units within 6 inches of this model. So if you have the little guys near him, he can let them reroll 1s to hit. And Super Heavy Walker, and I said that allows you to walk over guys. You can also leave combat and re-engage with no penalty, shoot and assault with no penalty. And next we have the Paladin, the Errant, and the Gallant. Now, or the Gallant, depending on how you pronounce them. All 3, I believe, got a little bit cheaper. They're all strength 8, toughness 8, 24 wounds. The Errant and Paladin are 4 attacks base. The Gallant is 5 attacks base since it only has 2 close combat weapons, right? He doesn't have any guns that are long range. And their leadership 9, 3-up save. And as always, all 3 of them are between 13 and 24 wounds. The Knight Paladin and the Knight Errant are when they're above half wounds. Movement 12 inches, weapon skill 3-up, ballistic skill 3-up. The Gallant is 2-ups for weapon skill, ballistic skill. And the weird thing about this one is, and then the other 2 are when they're below 7 to 12 wounds, movement 9 inches, weapon skill, ballistic skill 4-up. The Gallant is weapon skill 3-up, ballistic skill 4-up. And then 1 to 6 wounds, the Errant and Paladin are movement 6 inches, weapon skill 5-up, ballistic skill 5-up. And the Gallant is 4-up, 5-up. Cool. The Knight Paladin is, of course, armed with the rapid-fire battle cannon and 2 heavy stubbers, it says in this codex. Now, that doesn't make any sense, because they should only have 1 heavy stubber. Oh, no, because there's a heavy stubber on the battle cannon. I always forget that. That makes sense. So once again, in this case, you're paying 8 extra points. So it's the Paladin is 419 points or 423 points. I forgot what my math on that one. So one or the other. And he has the rapid fire battle cannon, which is 72 inch range, heavy 2d6, strength 8, AP -2, DD3. That's not bad. You know what? The problem is it's a little bit more expensive. It's 100 points for the battle cannon as opposed to 76 points for the thermal cannon. I think I prefer the thermal cannon instead. I know obviously you do get a bunch of shots off. Heavy 2d6. You know, you could roll 12 shots, hitting on 3s, wounding on most things on 2s, doing some damage. It could do some damage, and it's a really long-range gun. You can keep this guy in the backfield and just pop things. He does have his use. I think I prefer the thermal cannon in the end. And of course, you can replace the Reaper Chainsword, which is strength +6, AP -2, DD3, with a Thunderstrike Gauntlet, strength ×2, AP -4, D6. No, sorry, the Reaper Chainsword is strength +6, AP -3, D6, and the Thunderstrike Gauntlet is strength ×2, AP -4, D6, of course. And when attacking vehicles, you must subtract. Sorry, when attacking a weapon, you must subtract 1 for the Thunderstrike Gauntlet, but then you can cause D3 wounds if you kill a vehicle or monstrous creature. He has an Ion Shield, Explode, Super Heavy Walker. He can take a Careless Weapon if he wants. You know, also replace the Chainsword with Thunderstrike Gauntlet, and might replace his Heavy Stubber with Meltagun. The Errant is very similar. Has instead of the rapid fire battle cannon, he has the thermal cannon, which is 36 inch range, heavy D6, strength 9, AP -4, DD6, and if it's at half range, you roll. It's like a Melta. You roll 2 dice. Take the highest for the D6. I think I like him. He's a short range killer. So 18 inch range, he is doing a lot of damage, right? Strength 9 as opposed to strength 8. Nice. AP -4 and DD6 per shot. It's going to do some damage. He has an Ion Shield. He can explode. Super Heavy Walker. And he is a little bit cheaper. He's about 395 points because of the fact that he has one less Heavy Stubber, and his gun is cheaper. And then we have the Knight Gallant, or Gallant. Once again, he has a Reaper Chainsword and a Thunderstrike Gauntlet. I've already gone over both. Cool. You know what? He's a cheaper knight. He comes in roughly about 354 points. I do think that if you wanted to take a knight detachment, you may want to take like 2... I would personally take 2 Warglaives, I think, over him. But he's pretty cool. You know, he's 24 wounds, so he's going to absorb some stuff, run him at your opponent, give him something to shoot at, and then keep your other guys alive. Cool stuff. Knight Warden, once again, is strength 8, toughness 8, 24 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9, 3 save. Same damage table as the Paladin and the Errant. And his gun is, so he has a couple different guns. So he has the Avenger Gatling Cannon, a Reaper Chainsword, a Heavy Stubber, a Heavy Flamer, and Titanic Feet. So this is, once again, he has a Heavy Flamer. Now, Heavy Flamers alone are 17 points. Right? Heavy Flamers are 17 points, I'm pretty sure. So, wow, it's Heavy D6, Strength 5, AP -1, D1, and it automatically hits. These guys don't necessarily want to be in combat. Again, it's a good shot, but it's an 8-inch range gun. So you're paying 21 points in this case for Heavy Flamer and Heavy Stubber, when really they don't need them. It's an extra cool stuff, and hopefully you remember it. They take carapace weapons as well, and they have the Avenging Gatling Cannon, which is a 36-inch range, heavy 12, strength 6, AP -2, D2. Right? These are Space Marine killers. These are, you know, yeah, really, they're Space Marine killers. You know, they'll kill a bunch of Space Marines and other things. And again, if something's really close to them, the Heavy Flamer could come in use. But it's not the coolest thing when you have to constantly pay for these things. You know what I mean? And they really do add up. Ion Shield explodes, Super Heavy Walker, and a Knight Warden would come in roughly at 411 points with all the war gear on them without any upgrades. Next, we have the Night Crusader. Once again, the Night Crusader is all guns, right? No close combat weapon. He's just all guns. He has the same damage table as everyone else except the Gallant, and he comes with a thermal cannon, Avenging Gatling Cannon, Heavy Stubber, Heavy Flamer, Titanic Feet, all for the price of 457 points roughly. So again, I've gone over all of his weapons. You can obviously switch the Avenger Gatling Cannon. Sorry, you can replace the rapid fire battling cannon with a heavy stubber. No, thermal cannon. Sorry, with it you can replace the thermal cannon with a rapid fire battle cannon and a heavy stubber if you wanted to, which brings it up to almost 500 points. He's gonna sit in the back and just shoot things. You can give him carapace weapons like the Icarus auto cannon, or you know, some rockets. That'd be cool. He's a super heavy. Ion Shield explodes. Up next, we have one of the new guys. The new guys in the block, the character, Canis Rex. Canis Rex is basically driving... now, Canis Rex is the actual Imperial Knight itself. It's driven by pilot Sir Hector. And Canis Rex is basically a character version of the Preceptor. And he has, you know, basically he comes with he's a single model. So he's strength 8, toughness 8, 24 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9, 3 up save. And Sir Hector can move 6 inches, weapon skill and skill 3 up, strength 3, toughness 3, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 9, 4 up save. So basically all that happens is after the model, you know, dies, if it doesn't blow up, I'm pretty sure he gets out. Yeah, if it doesn't explode, Sir Hector survives and jumps out. Cool. He's armed with a pistol. That's 15-inch range, strength 5, AP minus 2, D2. And the Canis Rex is a single model equipped with a Lasm Pulsar, multi-laser, the Freedom's Hand, and Titanic Feet. So Freedom's Hand is basically a Thunderstrike Gauntlet, but even better because it strength times 2, AP minus 4, 2d6. 2d6 damage. And if a vehicle monster is slain, of course, you can cause D3 more wounds on a 4 up to another squad within 9 inches. It's like throwing it at the people. And he comes in at a crazy price of 450. I think that's a crazy price because I think that's a great price. To me, this is my favorite model in the Codex. Because for 450 points, this guy is a beast. He has the Lasm Pulsar, which obviously if you want to get him close combat, you'd be using the high intensity, 18 range, heavy D6, strength 12, AP minus 4, DD6, and at full strength he's movement 12 inches, 2 up, weapon skill, ballistic skill, and then the Freedom's Hand, right? So he's hitting on 3s in close combat at full strength, and with 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s because he's strength 16, doing 2d6 damage, 2d6, so average 7 damage per. Like, this guy's going to rip through a lot of things. And he also has some cool rules. Of course, he's an Ion Shield. He can explode. Sir Hector can get out if he doesn't explode. Chainbreaker. Roll d6 each time a friendly Imperial model flees while within 6 inches of Canis Rex. On a 6, that model does not flee. So if you want to run him in combination with other Imperium models, he could really keep your guys in line, potentially. And he's a super heavy walker. Up next, we have the 2 new guys in the block, the Knight Valiant and the Knight Castellan. They're bigger, they're badder, and they're way more expensive. They're in the 600 points regions. So if you're playing an 1850 point game, you can get 3 of them. 3 models in an 1850 point game. And just hope your opponent doesn't bring like glass cannon spam. Oy. So, their strength 8, toughness 8, 28 wounds, so a little higher number of wounds than the other models. 4 attacks, leadership 9, 3 up save. On a when they're full health, they are movement 10 inches, weapon skill 4 up, ballistic skill 3 up. Between 8 and 14 inches, 7-inch movement, weapon skill 5 up, ballistic skill 4 up. 1 to 7 wounds, 4-inch movement, weapon skill 6 up, ballistic skill 5 up. So a Knight Castellan, and I think my favorite is the Knight Castellan. I prefer the Knight Castellan over the Valiant, and I'll go over why. He's armed with a Plasma Decimator, Volcano Lance, 2 Shield Breaker missiles, 2 Twin Meltaguns, 2 Twin Siege Breaker cannons, and Titanic Feet. So this guy is a walking army unto himself. Now he has a Plasma Decimator, which is a 48-inch range, heavy 2d6 gun, but there's standard and supercharged. The standard is strength 7, AP minus 3, D1. Supercharge is strength 8, AP minus 3, D2, but of course for every 1 you roll, it's a mortal wound on him. Shield Breaker missiles. These are the interesting things of these two new models. And there is a, you can spend 2 command points to allow yourself to target a character model if the character model is not the closest. And here's the thing about these. Those are out of sight, I think. Yeah. But Shield Breaker missiles are 40-inch range, heavy 1, strength 10, AP -4, DD6, and invulnerable saves cannot be taken against them. So these ones are going to be interesting. Now, again, how effective will they ultimately be? They could be effective, because once again, if you're playing against armies like AdMech, or depending on the Space Marine list, or Eldar lists, if you're facing an army with a hidden character that doesn't have a lot of wounds, like 5 or 6 even, these ones are awesome because you can spend command points and synergy with these guys, target them, potentially hit them. Now, once again, at full strength, they're only hitting on 3s. They'd most likely be wounding on 2s, and no invulnerable saves can be taken. And you, of course, you could spend another command point to re-roll the d6 if you roll a low amount. You could get lucky and one-shot an enemy character. Again, this could be done for a variety of enemy characters, their HQ, any guy that buffs units around them. You know, it'd be good to take out these guys and break the rule of characters. So it'd be nice to force them, and it's 40-inch range gun, so they can't really hide anywhere, as I said. But the key is you can only use 1 per game each time, like per game, 1 each time per game. And so if you have 2 of them, you get 2 shots at this, 1 per turn, and hopefully you kill the opponent you want to. Now, I can see this being pretty brutal against armies like AdMech if they bring their HQs, because I think they only have 5 wounds. It would be pretty easy to potentially kill them. No invulnerable saves can be taken. The twin Siegebreaker cannons are 48-inch range, heavy 2d3. Okay, you need 2 of them, so 4 d3 shots. And strength 7, AP -1, DD3. So it's pretty cool. A twin Meltagun is actually free. Meltaguns aren't, but twin Meltaguns are, because they're on these guys. 12-inch range, assault 2. Strength 8, AP -4, DD6, and of course within half range you roll 2 dice for the damage. Take the highest. Volcano Lance is 80-inch range, heavy D6, strength 14, AP -5, D, 3D3. And you can reroll failed wound rolls when targeting Titanic units with this weapon. So once again, damage 3D3 per shot, heavy D6 number of shots. This is a great gun, and it's at a distance. I really like the distance factor. So this would be great at killing things, right? From a distance, you can keep them back and engage your opponent in a gunfight where you actually might be able to outgun them. You take out their top priority units, i.e. their heaviest shooting weapons early, and keep this guy alive. He does have an ion shield, so 5 invulnerable save. He explodes a little worse than the other ones, and he's a super heavy walker. So he comes in at roughly 604 points. I think that's correct with the math. 604 points. That's nuts. So once again, if I'm taking him in an Imperial Knight army, I better be playing 1500 points. I usually film at 1500 points, but I better be playing at a higher points level, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to fit in a 600 point model in your army. Now obviously, for tournaments that allow 1 super heavy, that guy may be the one to bring, especially if you're an Imperium force. You can do probably some synergy craziness with depending on the army. I know there's some with AdMech that already work really well with him. And he'll help keep your guys in line, and he's just a crazy gunship at the back of your army that will keep people in check. So, again, has a really good synergy with other armies. The other thing is the Knight Valiant. Now, the Knight Valiant is pretty cool too, but I don't think he's as good, and I'll go over my reasons why. He has a Thunder Coil Harpoon, a Conflagration Cannon, twin Siegebreaker Cannons, 2 twin Meltaguns, 4 Shield Breaker missiles, and Titanic Feet. Right, so 4 Titanic missiles. 4 Shield Breaker missiles. So 4 shots you potentially kill. You know, some guys are important. Once again, these are pretty awesome at. I think the Shield Breaker missiles are better at killing things like Hive Tyrants, Guilliman. The key is with these guys is that invulnerable saves cannot be taken, and so it's really awesome if you're facing, Magnus the Red, Guilliman, anything with an invulnerable save If you can target them and kill them with these guys, and again, you can spend command points to ignore the fact that they're not the closest model and out of cover, line of sight, but if you can take them out, these things will be awesome. That's what I'm saying. Now, the Conflagration Cannon is 18-inch range, so once again, very close range. If you're within 18 inches of your opponent, the odds are they're going to be able to assault you next turn. Heavy, 3d6, tons of shots. Strength 7, AP -2, D2, and they automatically hit because it's a flamer template. So that's really cool. That's really an awesome weapon, and I said, the guy's not terrible, I just prefer the other guy. That's up to 18 shots that automatically hit that could kill a lot of Space Marines, or Orc Boys, or any infantry. This is going to do a lot of damage. Heck, even against vehicles. You know, if you roll like a 13 shots that automatically hit, wounding probably on 4s, it would take out a vehicle, you know. It also has the Thunder Coil Harpoon. Now, this is a nuts gun, but it's only a 12-inch range. So once again, you have to really get in the face of your opponent and shoot him in the face. And then expect to be hit very, very hard back. And remember, these things only have invulnerable saves against shooting attacks. So whatever you shoot at, you're going to hurt, potentially. And then they're going to assault you and destroy you the following turn. You know, you basically have to assault them, but once again, they don't really do a lot of damage in close combat. They have Titanic Feet, which could kill, you know, a bunch of guys. They have 4 attacks, so they'd get 12 attacks, hitting on 4s at best strength. You know, so 6 hits, 5 dead Orc Boys. But it's heavy 1, strength 16, AP -6, D10. Holy moly. And you can reroll failed to hit rolls when targeting vehicles and monsters. So once again, and also if you do any damage, you get D3 additional mortal wounds. So this is going to be the weapon that you walk up and shoot a vehicle and destroy it. Now, my biggest problem with this particular gun, correct me if I'm wrong here, is invulnerable saves. Right? Invulnerable saves will hurt. This gun, 1 shot. You only get 1 shot. Hitting on 3s. Now, you're probably going to shoot a monstrous creature. You're probably going to shoot a vehicle. So hitting on 3s, reroll. Odds are very strong. 88% chance, not 89% chance you're going to hit your target. Cool. Wounds. It is strength 16. So whatever you're hitting, it's going to be wounding on 2s. Awesome. You roll a 1. Ouch, that sucks. You use your command point and you reroll that 1. Right? Makes sense. But here's where it gets, unfortunately, it loses effectiveness. Number 1, many characters have to be the closest model to shoot them, right? This rule is not ignored. So if my Hive Tyrant if there's any closer model than my Hive Tyrant, you can't shoot my Hive Tyrant, right? You have to be within 12 inches just to shoot him in the face. So if a Hormagaunt is closer than my Hive Tyrant, you can't shoot my Hive Tyrant. Ouch. Right? So there you go. He's safe. Now, what if he is the closest? Right? My Hive Tyrant has invulnerable save. And I'm going to save, any clever opponent will save their reroll for that phase for this 1 shot. And so, even if they have a 5-up invulnerable save, there's a better than 50-50 chance that this shot's going to be negated. Now, what if you shoot something that doesn't have an invulnerable save? That's awesome. There are a lot of multi-wound monstrous creatures and vehicles with no invulnerable saves. This vehicle will destroy them. A Trigon Prime, a Carnifex, you know, a Land Raider will take significant damage. Most Imperial vehicles will take significant damage, if not be destroyed by this 1 shot. Awesome. But once again, taking into consideration the 12-inch range. And as I said, I think it loses a bit of effectiveness when you're targeting like the high priority monstrous creatures like a Hive Tyrant, Gilliman, even a Necron Overlord could probably survive based on his invulnerable save alone. So, and the fact that they have to be the closest model just to be able to be shot and the closest visible model. There's definitely ways to nerf this gun. If I was facing you, I would not be as afraid of the Knight Valiant as I was a Knight Castellan. And the thing is, what I actually fear about these guys are the shield breaker missiles more than anything. Because again, no invulnerable saves. Now they're harder to hit the opponent if you're targeting a multi-wound creature. You have to spend command points to target a character, but you can use them to have some great synergy. And the Knight Valiant is even more expensive. The Valiant is 618 points roughly, so he's more expensive. And I feel that the Castellan is better to stay back versus the Valiant. You have to run at your opponent, and as I said, he's not incredibly strong in close combat. He can stop some things, but if you moved up, your opponent is going to run his scariest unit at this thing and take it down, right? By simply knocking off, a few power fists or a few lightning claws, a few anything against this guy can do some serious damage. And I don't know. Now, obviously, Overwatch is still pretty awesome with this guy. Overwatch is hilarious because Overwatch, you get 3d6 shots, strength 7, AP -2, D2 that automatically hit. So whatever assaults him, better be prepared for some danger. But what I would do in this case is assault him with a weaker unit that can possibly survive, and then assault him with the scarier unit. I don't know, as I said, or you just melt a gun this guy. The 12-inch range is a little too up close. And there's also the Sacristan Forge Shrine, which is a new piece of terrain that GW has come up with. It's a Sector Mechanicus structure, so after you set it up, it is treated as a Sector Mechanicus terrain feature. It cannot move, obviously, and is treated as friendly or enemy models. Like, it cannot be targeted or affected by any attacks or abilities. Obviously, unless you can fly or, you can't end up on it. Anything that's on top of it receive the bonus to their armor save for being in cover. Auto Sacristan. At the end of your movement phase, one Imperial Knights vehicle from your army that is within 1 inch of this model can use Forge Shrine's Auto Sacristan. If it does so, it cannot shoot or charge its turn, and its attack characteristics is reduced to 1, but you can then choose and resolve one of the following effects. These are kind of fun. Ritual Repairing. The vehicle regains D3 lost wounds. Yeah. D3? Really? Big whoop. That's, I don't really, to me, it should be 3. D3, if you have 28 wounds and you're down to 3, you can gain 1 back. Of course, if there's a Tech Priest or Tech Marine from your army on it, they can regain 3 back, essentially. Ritual Reloading. If the vehicle is equipped with Shieldbreaker missiles, it regains all Shieldbreaker missiles it fired previously in the battle. That's my favorite one, people. So once again, in very good synergy with the Knight Castellan, that you put this terrain piece at the back of the field, right? You keep your Castellan near the terrain piece. Every turn he fires, the first 2 turns he fires his missile, and then could maybe not fire that turn, and then reload his missiles turn 3, and then fire them turn 4 and 5, and just pick on characters from your opponent army. Right of refueling until the end of the next movement phase, increase the movement characteristic by 6 inches. Cool. So that's the rules in a nutshell. Now, obviously, there are Knight Lances. So if your army is battle forged, select 1 model in each Imperial Knights Super Heavy detachment in your army. Each model you selected gains the character keyword. However, the command benefit for each Imperial Knight Super Heavy detachment is changed to none unless it contains any combination of at least 3 Questoris class or Dominus class units. And Household Traditions. If your army's battle forged, they gain Imperial Knights rules. There's also free blades, right? The special rules are okay. I'm not that in love with them. The Questor Imperials, Household Traditions, so you choose your household. If it's House Terran, when determining the distance that a unit of Household Tradition advances or charges, roll an additional d6, discard the lowest result. House Griffin, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of the model if during any turn in which it charged or performed heroic intervention. In addition, the model with Household can perform heroic intervention as for character. House Hawkshroud. This is actually a pretty decent one, I think. Yes, this is my favorite one. Models with this Household Tradition double the number of wounds they have remaining for the purposes of determining what characters to use in the damage table. So that's pretty awesome. That's the one I would go with default if I was playing in a competitive environment or even in my battle reports, because if you have House Hawkshroud, your opponent has to get them to 1/4 of their wounds before it actually affects what their characteristics are. That's pretty cool. House Canis, reroll wound rolls of 1 in the fight phase for attacks made by models with this household attachment against units which only contain models with the wound characteristics of 12 or less. Okay. That's kind of cool. Wounding on 2s, reroll 1s. House Warden. Add 1 hit rolls in the fight phase for attacks made by a model with its household tradition during any turn in which it charged, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention. So that's pretty easy to do. You can constantly move it in and out. And there's Questor Mechanicus. Household traditions. There's House Raven. Models with household tradition do not suffer the penalties to their hit rolls for advancing and firing assault weapons. So that's awesome with the in combination with the Warglaives. Furthermore, during a turn in which a unit with this household tradition advances, all its heavy weapons are treated as assault weapons. Cool. House Tyrannus is roll dice each time a model with this household tradition loses a wound, unless the wound was lost as a result of a mortal wound. On a 6, it's not lost. House Crast. You can reroll failed hit rolls in the fight phase for a model with its household tradition during any turn in which it charged, was charged, or performed heroic intervention. In addition, you can reroll all failed hit rolls in the fight phase for a model with its household against Titanic models. Cool. House Vulcar. Roll hit rolls of 1 with this household tradition whenever you're resolving an attack with a ranged weapon that's targeting the closest enemy unit. Cool. And so up next we have the Warlord Traits. The Warlord Traits is that you can always nominate one as your Warlord. There are 6 Warlord Traits now. Unfortunately, they're kind of a combination of what used to automatically happen when you declared your Warlord with the Imperial Knights. So the first one's Cunning Commander. Once per battle, you can reroll 1 hit, wound, or damage roll, or saving throw made by your Warlord. In addition, you gain an additional command point. Alright. Other one, Iron Bulwark, is a 4-up invulnerable save against ranged weapons. That's the one I'd personally choose. That's what I used to choose whenever I'd run an Imperial Knights attachment. And Seneschal, you had 1 to your Warlord's attacks characteristic. Once again, that used to be defaulted as well. Landstriker, add 2 to all advance and charge rolls made for friendly household units within 6 inches of your Warlord. Cool. Number 5, Blessed by the Sacristans. Choose 1 weapon, not an heirloom of the noble houses, that your Warlord is equipped with. Each time you make an unmodified wound of 6 with that weapon, the target unit suffers a mortal wound in addition to normal damage. And number 6, Fearsome Reputation. Enemy units must subtract 1 from their leadership characteristics while they are within 12 inches of your Warlord. While they are within 6 inches of your Warlord, subtract 2 from their leadership characteristic. I think Blessed by the Sacristans would be cool for like a Flamer. No, so they automatically hit. Sorry, not a Flamer. Anything that you expected to shoot a lot of shots with Overwatch. That's what I mean. Is any shot of hit causes a mortal wound. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, sorry, wound roll of 6, sorry. Yeah. There's also household warlord traits, like Terran, you can reroll charge distances with your Warlord. Griffin, immediately after your Warlord completes a charge move, choose 1 enemy within 1 inch and roll a d6 on a 4-up, suffers d3 mortal wounds. Kind of living battering ram. Hawk Shroud at the start of your first battle round, but before any first turn begins, select 1 unit in your opponent's army, add 1 to hit rolls made by your Warlord against that unit. Cadmus, reduce all damage suffered by your Warlord in the fight phase by 1, to a minimum of 1. Morton, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target your Warlord at a range more than 18 inches. That's a pretty cool one too. Makes him much harder to hit. Raven, add 1 to saving throws made by your Warlord against attacks that have an AP characteristic of -1. Tyrannus, each time you make a wound roll of 6 up with your Warlord in the shooting phase, the AP characteristic of your attack is improved by 1. Yeah. Crest, reroll hit rolls of 1 for your Warlord. That's pretty cool. Adamantium Knight, Vulcar. Wound rolls of 1, 2, or 3 made for attacks against your Warlord always fail. That's kind of nice. Even if the attack has a strength characteristic higher than your Warlord's toughness characteristic. That's pretty cool. And as I said, there's a bunch of heirlooms. My favorite one is either Sanctuary, which is a 5 invulnerable saves against ranged weapons and melee weapons, or Armor of the Sainted Ion. Your Wearer's Knight has a save characteristic of 2-up. There's a bunch, Judge, like Mark of the Omnissiah, you know, each one special. I just don't want to go over details. There's a lot of them, and it said you just use one of them. There's about 20. And then there's Free Blade. Finally, I'm going to go with Free Blade qualities and burdens. Now, if you choose a Free Blade faction, give 1 Free Blade model in each detachment qualities and burdens. To do so, you can reroll. You can choose them or roll, depending on what you want to do. So qualities, there's last of their line, reroll hit rolls of 1 for the Free Blade's attacks against units containing 10 or more models. 2. Sworn to a quest. Reroll hit rolls of 1 for Free Blade when it targets the enemy Warlord. If Free Blade is within range of an objective marker, it controls that objective marker even if there are more enemy models within range of the same objective marker. Mysterious Guardian. This Free Blade can perform heroic interventions as if it were a character. It can do so if any enemy units are within 6 inches of it at the end of the enemy's charge phase, and can move up to 6 inches when doing so. Number 3 is Mysterious Guardian. This Free Blade can perform heroic interventions. Oh, sorry, that's what I just said. Peerless Warrior. Number 4, when this quality is chosen or generated, roll a d6. On a 1 to 3, add 2 inches to the Free Blade's move characteristic. On a 4 or 5, improve weapon skill characteristic by 1. On a 6, improve its ballistic skill characteristic by 1. Number 5, Indomitable. Add 1 to Free Blade's wounds and leadership characteristics. Number 6, Legendary Hero. Once per battle, you can reroll a single hit, wound, damage roll, charge roll, or saving throw for the Free Blade. But however, it comes with a burden. And the burden, number 1, Exiled in Shame. While his burden applies, the Free Blade cannot be affected by any stratagems. Weary Machine Spirit. While this burden applies, have the number of wounds the Free Blade has remaining for the purpose of determining what characteristic to use in the damage table. Oh, that's brutal. So instantly he starts with like 1 worse everything. That's not cool. 3, Hunt by Failure. While this burden applies, reroll hit rolls of 6 for this Free Blade. Number 4, Obsessed with Vengeance. While this burden applies, the Free Blade can only target the nearest enemy unit that is visible in the shooting phase and can only declare a charge against the nearest enemy unit in the charge phase. Number 5, Driven to Slaughter. While the burden applies, Free Blade cannot fall back and his ballistic skill characteristic is changed to 6 up. Number 6, Impetuous Nature. While burden applies, every move that Free Blade makes must take it closer to the nearest enemy model, and unless it is already within 1 inches, must declare a charge against every enemy unit within 12 inches. Okay. Wow, that's crazy. So that's that. And then the tactical objectives. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. That is my review. There, I went through all the pretty much all the details. You know, what I think of overall. I think it's improved for sure. Has a lot more flavor since now they added 4 new knights. Oh, sorry, 6 new knights to the codex. Right? There's the 2, you know, the Warglaive and the Helvin. There's the Castellan and the Valiant, and then there is Canis Rex and the Preceptor. So there we go. You know, 6 new knights. The little guys are actually really good. I think that the points adjustment for them was really good. I'm a little annoyed that we have to take heavy stubbers and all those extra guns that I don't really ever feel like using because it just adds up points. That's okay. But I really like the Warlord traits. I like the amount of flavor now in this codex. There's tons of different variations, and I would still like to do, you know, some battle reports in the near future with an all Imperial Knight army. That'd be a lot of fun. And see how it goes. What do you guys think, though? That's the important part. What do you think about this new Imperial Knights Codex? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What do you think? Let's start a discussion down there below in the comments section. So as always, thank you so much for watching this Codex review. Stay tuned for more Codex reviews. This video is brought to you by my Patreon subscribers. As you can see, their names go by my head. It's because of them that I can keep doing these videos, like my Codex reviews, my battle reports, and keep going. If you see any value in my videos, please like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, and please check out the link below if you want to help support my my campaign for my videos. So stay tuned for Codex reviews. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting.